Hello and welcome to Mariana in Yucatan. This is Bank Trusts.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mariana in Yucatan.
Where you will find real estate, immigration, and property legal advice, as well as some really cool projects coming into Mexico in real estate and some fashion.
Excited to be wearing actually something very Yucatecan.
If you are wanting to invest in Yucatan, you just some gorgeous views of the Caribbean. Hello and welcome. My name is Mariana and this is Mariana in Yucatan. I am an immigration and certified real estate agent, and my job with these YouTube videos is to help you understand a little bit better the process for purchase here in Mexico, and specifically where I am located, which is Mérida, Yucatan. Today we will be talking about a method of purchase typically used by foreigners. And when I say typically used is because the bank trust is not only used by foreigners. Although they are the ones that most use it, bank trusts are actually used by developers and by other countries such as the USA to be able to provide who will stay with certain things, properties, monies without having to go to probate. So even though here in Mexico, when people hear bank trust, including Mexicans, we think directly of foreigners, it is not a product that only foreigners use. Now let's start by why do I even need a bank trust? Well, as a foreigner, we have a article on our main law. In Spanish, it's called Nuestra Constitución Mexicana. And this main law has an article which states that if you are a foreigner, foreign company, or foreign individual, there's a restriction with you buying property that is found alongside or along the fringes of Mexico. Up to what point? 50 kilometers away from the ocean, that's where the fringe is, and all around Mexico. And if we touch borders such as US, Belize, Guatemala, it goes to 100 kilometers. Now, if you know the map of Mexico, you will find that it's a lot. It's really a lot. And the most touristic places or what people most like about Mexico are the beaches. So, of course, all of that is part of something called a restricted area. Now, the instrument found to be able to purchase property legally and respect this article, and that has benefited many, has been the bank trust. Now, to put it easy, what is really a bank trust? In a bank trust, we could say that we have certain parties. Now, on this side, we're going to put the seller, the owner currently of a house. Okay. This person is also called normally during the bank trust a truster, or in Spanish, fideicomitente. This person transferred to a second party, which is a bank, also known as fiduciary, or in Spanish, fiduciario. And this bank accepts this property under a trust or fideicomiso. This means that the bank is now safeguarding this property. So it stops being in the assets of the individual or the seller, but becomes or comes under the name or protection of the bank. Now, a lot of people do trusts, bank trusts, just for this. They take away some property out of their own name, put it under the protection of a bank, and then decide that if they die, instead of going to probate, this property will go to their son, their daughter, their family member, okay? When it comes to a purchase with a foreigner or a restricted area bank trust, we have another party, which is the buyer, typically the foreigner, also called in Spanish fideicomisario, or trustee in English. So what happens on a purchase is that, again, in the same contract that you sign before a notary, that is the sale of the property, what happens and what is explained is that the seller transfers the rights of this property under the protection of a fiduciary bank. And inside the content sets up as beneficiaries, sole beneficiaries of this property, the buyers. Now, some people could say, well, there's three parties still. How do I know this is my property? Under the main contract that you sign before the notary, also the seller or truster admits or certifies that they have received a certain amount because of the sale and therefore backs out of the whole process, only leaving the fiduciary bank and the beneficiaries, which are you as the buyers. Some benefits of using this method, because let's be honest, if you are investigating into buying or purchasing a property in Mexico, there are other methods such as building a Mexican company, an LLC, and having that company purchase the property. Some people might say, well, I trust that more because it is my company and not a bank that has the protection of the property. But it's true that it depends on what you want to do with that property in specific. Some benefits of having the bank trust, again, going back to the beginning, is that that property already works as a will because inside of it, you can already leave beneficiaries in case of death. In Mexico, even if you have a will all set in place, your family members, in case of your passing, will always have to go to probate. But using the bank trust, you're able to avoid all of that because the bank will respect whoever you left as beneficiaries in case of death. The second benefit is that if you plan on selling this property in the future using a bank trust and complying with other certifications such as having a residency card, being a resident, becoming a Mexican, having your RFC, which is a tax ID number, you might be able to exempt all capital gain tax or at least a big chunk of it, which will help your investment give you the most back possible. And third, if you decide later on to become a Mexican, you can put down the trust and then just put it under your name. With a Mexican company, we will do a video later on that explains the benefits of a Mexican company. It's really nice, but the problem with the Mexican company is that typically you need to have another member being in the company. And that means that you need to be sharing this property with that person. Also, it still stays in your personal name. So, what happens with that is that if you go into bankruptcy or there's any problem where the government needs to take your belongings, that is still part of your belongings. So, anything the company has to go through can affect that property. As well, if you wanted to sell in the future, you could not exempt the capital gain tax. So there are benefits of using the Mexican LLC, but you do need to make sure that you're using it for the right purpose. Now, how much will purchasing through a bank trust cost me? Well, we've already done a video that talks about closing costs. I will leave the link in the description below so you can check it out as well. But pretty much have in mind that as a Mexican, we all have to pay at least 3% of the total value of sale of the property as tax for the government for purchasing a property. That's stable, whether you're a Mexican or a foreigner. Apart from that, we have to pay the notary its fees. The notaries are, let's say, the equivalent to a master broker. They are the ones by law, the only ones that can certify a sale in Mexico, at least of properties. And they also are the ones who pay taxes for you. So you pay them, they pay the taxes. In this regard, it's important to know that we need to pay them their fees. As well, we need to pay certain rights so that this notary can draft the title, can register it later on at the public registry of property and commerce of Yucatan or of the state you're purchasing in. And apart from that, maybe the appraisal and some other little things. We normally estimate a 5% of the total value of the property, of the sale of the property, but this can change a lot. So it's always good to come to a professional to make sure to get the closing costs in writing and not get any surprises. Now, apart from all of this, when you're building a trust, you need to pay certain extra things. The first thing is the permit from the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. When you're going to put a property on a bank trust, this is a special bank trust. Remember at the beginning, we talked about different types of bank trusts and that not only foreigners use it, but now we're talking about a bank trust that is found in the restricted area of Mexico. So the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, also called normally SRE, this one gives you a permit to be able to build this trust. And this permit is specifically for that property and can cost around 1,000 to 2,000 US dollars. Bank, for being the fiduciary, will also charge you certain fees. Approximately, they charge you 500 US dollars for accepting the bank trust and another 500 US dollars for an annual fee of their service in advance. After that, you will have to pay yearly 500 US dollars to be able to keep the trust in that bank. And how do I know if a property can be in a bank trust? Well, there's certain criteria that the property needs to comply with to be able to be in a bank trust. Number one is that the property is private property. So any property that is still part of ejido, which is land, for example, given to agricultural workers, that is not private property registered, cannot be part of a bank trust. As well, properties that have liens that are not clean with and they're still owed, those cannot be part of a bank trust. Lastly, obviously, there needs to be a property that is inside of the restricted area to be able to be part of that area or that bank trust of restricted area. We hope that this video has helped you to understand a little bit better what is a Mexican bank trust, also known as restricted area bank trust, one of the most used types of bank trusts in Mexico for foreigners to purchase property. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. And if you are looking to make Mexico your new home soon, specifically also Yucatan, make sure to contact me on the number down below. We can help you from A to Z to make Mexico your new